I think the most important thing now is that we understand what the resource is, but we haven't got the financial resources yet to provide the kind of levels of management that we want to see. We know what bits of land have the potential. We've got most of them designated and protected through the planning system. We've managed to achieve national designations for sites that were perhaps, almost derelict, 40 years ago. And that is significant. But what worries me now is that we need to do justice to those designations. We haven't really got the kind of levels of resource that I would like, to have these works happening as a part of the routine, not as a sort of a specialist sort of discipline, but this is how we should be managing these sites, and we need that resource in order to do it. And that, I think, is going to be increasingly important. And I think, the arguments are there. We've mapped areas. We know where the important species are, the important habitats are. We've got them protected through the planning process. We've got national designations. But what we haven't necessarily got is the resource to routinely manage them like we sweep the roads, or it's still this sort of little niche area. We need, 6 of me, or we need, a dozen people like Sam, getting the community engaged. We're still working on the margins in terms of the sort of staffing. And people talk about green infrastructure and blue infrastructure. And yet you think about all the grey infrastructure and how many people are actually engaged in that, and how many or how few are engaged in green infrastructure. It's still tiny as a proportion, and we need more people, we need more engagement, and we need more resources to do it. There are some sites that are in private ownership that I would like to bring into public ownership so that we can actually enact a conservation regime. And that still does, unfortunately, include part of Leagrave Park. There's an area up at Leagrave within the scheduled monument. It's part of the county wildlife site, but it's derelict, and it belongs to an owner who doesn't want to sell it, who can't find a use for it, but it's just there, and it's just calling out, to be added to that, kind of portfolio, if you like, of important sites. And there are others as well. So there are areas of land that we still need to acquire to bring them into public ownership so that we can actually get and that's not public ownership for its own sake. It's public ownership because we need somebody responsible to be owning it. We can, it wouldn't matter if it's the Wildlife Trust who owned it, but it needs that kind of protection of somebody who cares about its importance. And then the second thing is we do need to be able to pay for more contractor-delivered works. We do a lot of community-based work, but now we have a large number of sites. Some of those sites are very big. The idea that we can manage them simply with volunteers it's impossible. We need more resource so that we can train local contractors to actually go and do these sorts of things on a regular basis for us. So that's the other thing. And then making them accessible. So that's physical accessibility so that people can get to use the areas. It doesn't mean festooning them with all sorts of suburban clutter. It just means, good solid paths, proper gateways, enticing entrances, that sort of thing. And intellectual access, so proper interpretation at all levels, so that there are leaflets available, there are sideboards, there are sort of websites and Facebook pages or whatever it is that you want, and maintaining that intellectual access for the community as a whole, I think, is very important. And we do it, but we don't do enough of it, and it's nearly always funded by external grants. So you do a bit of work here, and then it's all very bitty. We need something more routine to do that.